Hey everybody, this is Roberta Eastman at Home Buyers Inventory. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today's a big one. We're going to talk about the myths and misconceptions about rent-to-own homes. So stay tuned so you understand and have a much better idea of how you can do a rent-to-own home. This is Home Buyers Inventory Q&A number 45. And this is usually a very hot topic. People always ask, what are your thoughts about rent-to-own homes? Are you someone or do you know someone who has myths and misconceptions about engaging in a rent-to-own home? People often don't know the real stories about how helpful rent-to-own homes can be. They usually have negative comments about them. If you really are curious about what is the real deal of a rent-to-own home, feel free to read the article and listen to this podcast. Then share it with someone you know so they too can learn the reality about rent-to-own homes. And don't forget to go ahead and give us a 5-star rating on the podcast, whatever one you're listening to, iTunes, Google, any of those. Make sure you're rating the podcast so we know what you like and we can give you more information on that topic. Rent-to-own homes vary depending on the company who offers it. But here in Home Buyers Inventory, we make sure that we see to it that our program not only benefits us, but most especially benefits our future homeowners. You see, I was one of those people who wanted to be a homeowner. And I couldn't because I couldn't go to the bank and get a traditional loan at the time that I wanted to buy the home. That's how I got involved in offering rent-to-own homes. Here are some of the myths that you shouldn't fall for. Number 1, you're throwing money away. See, this myth is really not true because what you pay monthly for your rent, that can be seen on your credit history, and this will help you build your credit score. Now, you're paying rent anyway, but how many companies or landlords would offer to report your good payments so that it shows up on your credit report? So when you go to the bank and look for that traditional loan, then you'll get it because they can see you've already been paying. Building your credit score will help you have a favorable outcome, especially when the time comes that you need a mortgage. I mean, what bank is going to see that you've been making all these payments in your rent and then your mortgage is probably going to be a little bit lower than what you're paying for rent, depending on the interest rates at the time and your credit scores. But even if it's the same, what bank is going to see that you've been paying all along and then say, oh no, but you still can't have a loan? And again, what company is going to report those good payments? We have several of our tenants that pay rent and they sign up for one of the services that allows us to go in and say that they've made payment every month. And when they've made payment every month, we're more than willing to report that they've had good payments because that's going to help them get the house. This is going to let you see your rental history on your report. That's one of the ways that we teach you how to have your good payments reported. So when you go to the bank and get the mortgage for your new home, the bank will see you have a good payment history. Good payment history is the number 1 thing needed to obtain a loan. Number 2, rent-to-own home prices and terms change. Now that's another common misconception, that rent-to-own home prices and terms change. Now again, this is at Home Buyers Inventory. If somebody else is offering you a rent-to-own home and they're telling you that the price and the terms are going to change, then you need to run, not walk, or you need to reach out to us and ask us and let us know so that we can help you understand what it is you're stepping into. In other words, most potential home buyers think that they will be at edge if the prices will be higher after they stayed in the house for 2.5 years. Now that's incorrect because whatever will happen in the market, our rent-to-own home prices will not change. And this will benefit you, especially if in the future all prices will increase in the market. Now, yes, real estate goes down, but when you look at real estate from an overall perspective, in years, it is one of the only investments that increases the way that it does and for as many years as it does. Very few years has real estate decreased versus increased. Your rent also does not change for up to 2.5 years. Now, I know landlords or people that are landlords and they raise that rent every single year. So not only does your rent not increase for up to 2.5 years, your rent is guaranteed to not increase, as is the purchase price of the home. Both of those things are guaranteed up to usually a term of 2.5 years. If it is any less than that, for whatever reason, you will know that in advance. So you understand the terms, which is how long do I have, and the pricing and your rent for whatever the entire term that we are going to have on that particular house. You're going to know that all in advance before you even sign your rental agreement. And that is huge because rents seem to always go up. And even when we had the recession and house prices went down, rents kept going up. And that's, what's going to happen right now. We're in another position where people who are landlords, they are going to run into some situations with their own lives, and then they're going to go ahead and raise the rent on you. Every year they can do that. So that is huge. And it is something that it's the biggest expense you have is your rent. You don't want to be every year having to face that rent increase. So the rent to own home with home buyer's inventory, again, the rent is guaranteed. If you are stepping into a rent to own with somebody else and your rent and your purchase price and the terms are always changing, then again, reach out to us, ask us about it so that you understand. Now, we're not lawyers, we're not CPAs, but I can tell you how we do our rent to owns, and then you can compare it if somebody else out there is offering you a rent to own. And that way you'll have an apples to apples comparison. You can always reach us also on our website. I'll give you the address at the end of this so you can hop online and send us any questions you have or contact us. So for summary there, your rent with us is guaranteed. Another myth and misconception. Number 3, your landlord can enter your property at any time. Now, if your landlord is also the property owner, they have the right to enter the property. However, to say that they can enter the property at any point is blatantly false. Landlords who wish to enter the property for non-emergency issues must provide tenants with a reasonable notice and do so at a reasonable time. You will typically find this outlined in your lease on when they can and when they cannot enter your property. But it is a myth that they can enter at any time. The amount of time a landlord must provide varies by jurisdiction, so research again the laws in your area, or just look at your rental agreement because it usually states in there, and that'll help you better understand the specifics of the rule. Number 4. Now, please be careful of this one because if your paperwork does not indicate that you have the exclusive right, then this one actually is true, and it is not a myth. But let's make sure you understand how sometimes it is a misconception that needs to be changed. And again, the way Home Buyers Inventory does our rent-to-own homes, it is absolutely a myth that that house can be sold to others while you are in the term that we have agreed to and you have signed on for. But other people, I have found, other landlords, and have spoken to hundreds of people in various areas across the country, and that is exactly what happened. The landlord sold the house right out from underneath them. So let me help you define when that could happen and let you know that at Home Buyers Inventory, that will never happen. We will never sell your house to somebody else while you're under the term of agreement. So let's talk through that one. As I said, for home buyers inventory, this is a misconception that needs to be changed. We will never sell that house from underneath you. You have the exclusive right to purchase that. But that is not the case with everybody who offers rent-to-own homes. As a seller, we would not sell the house to others, especially if you are under contract. But again, other sellers have and will and would sell your house to somebody else if you have a rent-to-own, or especially something called a land contract. Even if you're under contract with them, because there's language in there that allows them to do that. And the problem here is we have seen that done over and over when someone has done a land contract. The person who sold them the house never gave them the exclusive right to buy the home. So if the landlord has family or a better offer, we have seen the landlord sell the house right out from underneath the person. So please, if you think a land contract is so great, make sure this isn't going to happen to you. If you need help with us, please, please, please let us know. You as a tenant buyer have the full right and the exclusive right to buy the house once you're done with your 2.5 years or whatever your term is. But if you decline or change your mind at the end of the contract, now the seller will have every right to sell the house to whoever they want. And here's another myth that is a myth for us here at Home Buyers Inventory. Your pets are not welcome in your home. This is a big myth and a big no-no. We here in Home Buyers Inventory, we are certified pet lovers, and we make sure that you and your pet are treated equally. We are confident enough that you will take care of your pet in the home and that you have trained them properly. Paperwork does state that if there is any damage from your pets, you agree to professionally fix it. Overall, at the end of the day, what matters most is that we know the real deal about rent-to-own homes here. And that is up to us to share it with everyone so that they may also know and understand how helpful a rent-to-own program can be to someone who is wanting to start out and having their own home. You can get more information about rent-to-own homes at our website, www.homebuyersinventory.com. You can also reach out and ask us questions through our Contact Us form. And then you can free winter heating checklists. You can get guides on moving. There's all kinds of information free to you. Again, at www.homebuyersinventory.com. So go learn about how to get into a rent-to-own home. And we'll talk to you on the next Q&A.